Greetings, I am Tad Larkin, the lore master of Manda-LORE, and today I'm going to be digging through the archives to elaborate on the Ghost Prison incident. Taking place mere months after the establishment of the Galactic Empire, 19 years before the Battle of Yavin 4, a brutal and bloody coup attempt took place on Coruscant. Orchestrating the coup, headmaster of the Imperial Academy on Ryathal and former general in the Clone Wars, Gentis, had grown tired of sending young men off to war to die, especially after all but one of his sons were killed quelling insurgencies following the New Order's establishment. His solution to stopping the bloodshed was to kill the Emperor, Vader, and Tarkin, all while assuming control of the Galactic Empire himself. And he got his opportunity when the graduation ceremony for his students was to be held on Coruscant, with both the Emperor and Vader in attendance. Valedictorian of the Ryathal Academy, Lorida Tome, was awarded the position of lieutenant and was scheduled to be shipped off to serve as a fleet officer under Grand Moff Tarkin. And, during the after-party of the ceremony, Gentis instructed Tome's close friends, Shens and Kal, Gentis' last son, to, quote-unquote, keep him out of harm's way. Later that night, the trio ventured to an unguarded landing platform containing prototype TIE fighters, and both Shens and Kal dared Lorida to commandeer one and take it for a joyride, and when he climbed into the cockpit, they ended up locking it from the outside, trapping him. Afraid he was going to be found in the prototype in the morning by an officer and lose his rank and commission, Lorida panicked and triggered the craft's ejection seat, sending him careening into the Coruscant skyline. And it was a good thing too, because not long after he ejected, the landing platform and other surrounding buildings became engulfed in flames as explosions rocked the buildings in the immediate area. Upon landing, he quickly discovered that it was a terrorist attack, as clone forces engaged in fierce firefights throughout the plaza. It was then that Lord Vader entered the fray, and inadvertently saved Lorida, and after removing a dying terrorist's mask, discovered that it was his friend, Shens. Gentis was behind these attacks, and he was using his students as soldiers. After quickly dispatching Shens with a blaster to the face, he was approached by Vader, and Lorida pleaded to the Dark Lord to spare him, pledging his undying loyalty. So he did, not before another explosion erupted from the building where the Emperor currently resided, and Vader bid in Lorida to accompany him in reclaiming the Emperor. Entering the building, Lorida and Vader discovered that the bomb contained a neurotoxin, Aorth-6, that had devastated the Emperor's guards and left a weak Palpatine channeling the dark side of the Force to fend off the virus within him. Moff Tretcha was also there, saved only by his own breathing apparatus. Tretcha and Vader argued briefly, but it became apparent that Tretcha had no involvement in the attacks, so they quickly brought Palpatine to a secret hangar in the lower levels of the building, getting him out of there on a stealth transport. Vader now racked his brain on where to take the Emperor, so he could fully recover in a healing trance, someplace that not even the Imperial High Command knew about. Then it hit him. In his days as a Jedi, as Anakin Skywalker, he remembered he often questioned Obi-Wan and the Jedi Council regarding where his prisoners of war he captured during the Clone Wars actually went, seeing that none of them went to any POW camps or prisons that he knew of. It was then that Vader, with Lorida at his side, ventured into the ruins of the Jedi Temple, and after fighting off reactivated Jedi training droids, he sifted through the holo-recordings of the Jedi Council chamber until he found what he was looking for. The holo-recording of the time he asked the Jedi Council where all his prisoners ended up revealed, after he had walked out of the room, that the Jedi Order, being a section of the Republic's judicial branch after all, maintained their own prison complex known as the Prism, of which the location was soon revealed. They soon made full speed to the Prism, and upon touching down on the landing platform, they were greeted by the Jedi Warden and her cadre of security droids, seemingly forgotten by the Jedi following Order 66, and subsequently, Vader slew her where she stood. Lorida, Vader, and Tretcha assumed command of the facility and released the prisoners, which, in hindsight, was probably a bad idea on their part because they did what every band of unruly prisoners would do, and riot, one that turned out deadly for them. After having to kill several of the prisoners and subduing the alphas of the bunch, the trio finally got the attention of the Prism's attendees, and Tretcha gave a rousing speech, offering the prisoners a chance of freedom if they helped them reassume control of Coruscant. Lorida, with the approval of Vader, offered them all pardons if they succeeded, and so the survivors of the riot were all piled into the stealth ship bound for Coruscant. During all of this, Gentis assumed control of the Imperial Government District, and it was time for him to eliminate the final domino in his plan, Grand Moff Tarkin, who was scheduled to make a visit to Coruscant very soon, and upon his landing, Gentis would have him apprehended and dealt with accordingly. When Tarkin's shuttle did land and the Grand Moff stepped out on the gangway, Gentis had him seized. However, not before the Emperor himself, now fully healed, accompanied by Vader, Lorida, and about a dozen of the most dangerous beings who were former agents of Count Dooku during the Clone Wars, made their presence known. It was an absolute bloodbath of swinging sabers, force lightning, and blaster bolts that decimated Gentis and his supporters, and after their victory, the remaining conspirators were rounded up and executed. The former inmates of the Prism were subsequently loaded onto a transport where they could be processed and pardoned. However, Lorida had the transport sabotaged, and it exploded as soon as it lifted off, much to the dismay of Moff Tretcha. Emperor Palpatine, now back on his throne, spoke privately with Vader, commending the actions of the recently promoted Admiral Lorida Tome, and suggested that Vader groom Lorida to be a worthy replacement, should he ever fail him. Feeling threatened by Admiral Tome's newfound favor with the Emperor, Vader subsequently threw him off a sky bridge, ending the short-lived military career of Admiral Lorida Tome. This transmission was suggested by C-Train. If you have any suggestions for future transmissions, don't be afraid to drop a comment. In the meantime, keep your comm channels open for future transmissions, and don't forget to subscribe. Tad Larkin, out.